Hello, so today we're going to be analysing a mock interview I did with Ronit. So Ronit's in year 13, he's studying maths, economics and physics, and he's going to be applying to finance, sort of investment banking, degree apprenticeships, companies like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, UBS, that sort of thing. Just a fun fact about him, his favourite book is Crime and Punishment, which is pretty cool because that's my favourite book as well. I read it earlier this year, really good book. So without any further ado, let's get straight into the interview analysis and see what we can learn. So let's do it. Hi, Ronit. Just tell me a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm currently a year 13 student studying A-levels in mathematics, physics, and economics. And I'm currently pursuing apprenticeships in the finance space. And so I think on my academic background, I'm currently predicted all A stars in those subjects. And I think that's a testament to my hard work and discipline in that regard. And then building on that, I think my reason for applying for finance apprenticeships, such as the one with JP Morgan, I just really want to gain some fundamental experience and practical experience in that role. And so over the past year or so, I've been trying to educate myself as much as possible through doing various different courses, massive online open courses, and reading some books, as well as just staying up to date with financial markets and the news. And so building on that, I think I just want to get straight into the workplace, and I think JP Morgan's a great firm to start that.
Cool. So two things here I'd say straight away. Number one, I think Ronit was looking a lot at the screen. Like, if you can see, his eyes are down here, and on his screen he would have been appearing there in the bottom right. I think he's looking at himself, or he's looking at me. Occasionally he does come up to the camera, so you can see him there. He is now looking up to the camera, which will be sort of up here, but he was sort of glancing in between it, and most of the time he was looking down. This is something to remember, and it's going to be a habit that might be difficult for you at the start, is everyone loves just sort of looking at themselves, but look at that webcam. How long should you spend looking at the webcam? As close to 100% as possible. Now, 100% probably isn't very realistic, because sometimes you're going to need to glance at some notes. Sometimes you're just going to naturally look away. But if you can try and get that percentage of you looking into the webcam as high as possible, like 75%, that's really good. It's just so much more engaging when you look at the camera. And psychologically, somebody's just going to click inside the recruiter when you're actually making that eye contact with the webcam, rather than looking down at yourself, rather than looking at them, and all that sort of thing on the screen. The other thing I'd say with this question is Ronit went a bit into his motivations, and he sort of started waffling about sort of his motivation to go and join JP Morgan. Now, with this sort of question, tell me about yourself, you want to keep it concise. Okay, so you don't want to give too much away. So you know movie trailers, right? Movie trailers are actually a bad example. That's a very bad example. You know movie trailers these days, right? These days, let me just show you this, right? Fast and Furious 9 trailer, like modern movie. It's like a 3-minute 55 trailer. How do you have a 3-minute 55 trailer? You go through this, you're going to understand the entire plot. Like, you're going to know there's this car chase here. You're going to know that this thing happens here. They have this car chase in, like, whatever this city is, right? They're going to have this thing here. You know that they're going to have, like, a car chase. They're going to drive off a cliff with helicopters behind them. You know that they're going to go to space. You know that they're going to do, like, you've already seen every single action scene that's going to happen in the movie, because they showed it all in the trailer, right? And that's some of the problems with modern movie trailers, is they just give you everything. Now, why am I randomly talking about movie trailers? Well, that's what you don't want to do in sort of this introduce yourself question, okay? You don't want to give it all away, because they're going to go through it in the interviews. Why do you want to work for this company? Tell us about your strengths and all this sort of thing. You don't want to give it all away in the first question. So that's reason number one, because then you'll have nothing to talk about the rest of it. And reason number two is, a lot of companies, they do just want a short answer. So companies like Amazon, they literally want you to talk about a couple of sentences. Otherwise, they'll literally cut you off. Okay, I've listened to recordings of some students who have done interviews, and they get cut off if in this question, this tell me about yourself question, they start going on for ages. So you want to keep this one super concise. It's like your name, your, like, sort of the subjects you're studying, right? Key work experience and extracurricular, and just another sentence. And I'm looking forward to doing this apprenticeship today. Doing this interview today, sorry. Okay, don't go into motivations and waffling about other stuff. So that's the key one on this one. Try and keep it a bit more concise.
Year or so, I've been online with that.
Between each question, okay, thank you for that. And by the way, if I just pause for a couple of seconds between each question, I'm just writing down a couple of notes. That's absolutely fine. So
yeah, no worries.
Let's move on to the next question then. So why have you decided to apply to this role?
So I think, first of all, with JP Morgan, I think this role with JP Morgan, this specific apprenticeship, is something that really attracted me because of, firstly, I think how big of a firm JP Morgan is. They have such a large global presence. And I think something in particular with that that interested me was the fact that they use that presence and they use that status they have in the global markets for good use. Something that really caught my eye was their initiative to invest $2.5 trillion, I think, into sustainable initiatives to combat things like climate change and sustainable development and economic inequality. And the fact that JP Morgan really care about this is something that really makes me want to work there. And then moving on from that, I think this specific apprenticeship is something that's really going to be useful for me to build some practical skills in the finance sector. So the fact that I'll be able to gain direct mentorship and learn and see exactly what seasoned professionals in the industry are doing, that's going to be something that's really going to enable me to learn as much as possible and absorb as much knowledge. And then on the other side of that, with the apprenticeship, there's also the more academic education side of things with the degree. So I believe it's a applied finance degree from University of Exeter. And given that that's a really prestigious Russell Group university, that's something that's really motivating me to apply for that. So I think a combination of all of that really makes it a great apprenticeship to pursue.
Okay, so in this question, I can see Ronit's looking a bit more at the camera. That's what you want to do, look more at the webcam there. Now, with the structure of what he was saying, he did 2/3 of what you need to do. Okay, so for this question, let me just repeat the question. Why have you decided to apply for this role? Okay, what most people are going to do is they're just going to talk about one aspect of things. Okay, they're going to go talk about, this is why I want to work for JP Morgan. They're going to leave it there. If you do that, your answer is not going to be full. There's going to be some things that are missing. Okay, similarly, someone might focus on, oh, this is why I want to do financial services. Right, or someone might focus on the degree apprenticeship aspect. The best thing you can do is, for a question like this, a general question, why have you decided to apply for this role? The best thing you can do is refer to all three aspects that are included within a role. What's included within a role is the company, the subject, and the fact that it's a degree apprenticeship. So let me show you this. For a question like this, why did you apply for this role? You want to aim for the three-pronged approach. Okay, the three-pronged approach. This is what I've explained here. It's where you talk about the role. So software engineering, financial services, for example, the company, JP Morgan, and then what it is, a degree apprenticeship. Okay. And that means you're going to have a much more full and comprehensive answer compared to everyone else who might just cover one aspect. Like now they know you're clearly motivated for a degree apprenticeship because every single one of those aspects you tick off. Okay, it's called a three-pronged approach. In that answer there, Ronit did the JP Morgan thing, he did the degree apprenticeship thing. He didn't touch really on why specifically financial services, why it was that role which interested him. Okay, so that's what you want to do. So that's if it's an overarching question. Why did you apply for this role? You want to cover all three strands. Now, if it's a specific, super specific question, like why do you want to do software engineering, or why do you want to do investment banking, or why do you want to do audit, obviously you're just going to talk about that, right? If they ask the question, why do you want to work for JP Morgan? Of course, you're just going to talk about JP Morgan. If they ask, why do you want to do a degree apprenticeship over going to university the traditional route, you're obviously just going to talk about that. Okay, so this is where you have to be listening carefully during these interviews. You don't want to just be like half listening, looking at your script, whatever. Really listen carefully. Is it a specific question, in which case answer it specifically? Or is it this overarching question? Why did you apply for this role? In which case incorporate this three-pronged approach. Go through those three different aspects. The subject, the company, and the fact that it's a degree apprenticeship. Okay, so that's what Ronit could have improved there. He did it decently because he did two of them. But if you can get a third one, three-pronged approach, that's going to be really good. Okay. Now, final thing is, I'll just replay it at the end here, just so you can clearly see this.
At Group University, that's something that's really motivating me to apply for that. So I think a combination of all of that really makes it a great apprenticeship to pursue.
Essentially, so he'd done his answer, he paused, and then he added another sentence. That's a concluding sentence. Essentially, you always want to finish off your answer with that concluding sentence. Psychologically, people remember two things the most: the start of something and the end of something. Okay, a lot of people go through their answers and they just stop in the middle. Okay, so another reason why I decided to apply is because I want to do this degree apprenticeship, and I think it'd be really great to get the experience and also study for a degree at the same time. When someone stops like that, for me anyway, when I'm listening to their interview, it's kind of weird. I'm like, what's going on? Are you done? What's going on? Because they've literally just stopped at the end of some random sentence. Okay, and it just gives a kind of awkward atmosphere. I'm like, what's going on, right? And that's where Ronit sort of realised that, and he gave that concluding sentence. So overall, those are the couple of reasons why I've decided to apply for this role at JP Morgan. So just make sure as a habit for every single question you're finishing off with that concluding sentence. It's just going to psychologically make them think so much better of your answer because it just sounds better. Because it's like concluding, it's coming to a nice ending. Okay. The next question. Okay, thank you for that. So moving on to the next question now. What do you think makes you a good fit for this role?
Yeah, so I think something that would make me a good fit for this role is my experience in trying to learn as much as possible and take as much initiative as I can to immerse myself in the finance industry as well as the workforce in general. So just being able to gain as much work experience and absorbing as much knowledge as I can in the last 6 months, 8 months has been something that's really useful to me. So I think starting off with my background in, say, economics, for example, I did an internship last year with a major think tank. And through that, I was able to really learn and hone in on some specific knowledge within financial markets and understand how economic policy and how the role of government is really an important force in financial markets. And then from that, I've been able to further my knowledge in financial markets through various courses. For example, I did the financial markets course with Yale University, and through that I was able to gain a really foundational grounding in how financial markets operate and all the different types of asset classes, for example, and how they get traded, and ideas such as risk management, which are really useful. And so I think the combination of that has really been able me to develop a holistic view of how financial markets operate. And that's going to be really useful in this apprenticeship. And I aim to use that knowledge as much as I can.
Okay, so that question was what makes you a good fit for this role? What he said there was really good because he was talking about his courses, his knowledge, his previous experience. However, I would say what he said there was 1 out of 3 things you could have said, 1 out of 4 things. Essentially, with this sort of question, what makes you a good fit for this role? I recommend covering 3 to 4 things. And he basically covered 1. And that 1 was I have previous knowledge and experience. Okay. There's an opportunity there to now go into skills because with these degree apprenticeships, most of us are 17, 18, 19. We very limited knowledge, very limited experience. The main thing is skills, these transferable soft skills, collaboration, communication, leadership, attention to detail, time management, numerical skills, analytical skills, all of the above, right? So for this example, I wouldn't just say experience, I would also talk about skills. So my answers was usually something like, I have good experience, which is basically what Ronit said there. Then I'd go into problem solving, then communication, and then something else like a willingness to learn, because a willingness to learn is really important for a degree apprenticeship because you mean learning new things in the workplace, learning things at university. It's a good skill to have. I'd aim for that. What makes you a good fit for this role? Mention a couple of points. Maybe number 1, experience, problem solving, communication, analytical skills, numerical skills, teamwork. Pick 4 of those and go with those, just so it can give you more of a rounded sort of answer. Because right now it's like, okay, I'm pretty confident that he has the knowledge and experience, but I don't know how well he'd fit in with a team, or I don't know how well he would solve problems. It just sounds like he's done a lot of courses and read a bunch of books. So that's why you want to include those skills there as well. So maybe experience and knowledge, problem solving, communication, and something else. Those skills, choose them depending on what it says in the job description. Okay. When I was applying to engineering, problem solving is super important. Collaboration is super important for most companies. Maybe a company really cares about integrity. Maybe they care about creativity. Maybe they care about numerical skills. Go and look at the job description and use those most important skills for that question. It's weakness and thank you for that. So what would you say is your biggest weakness and what are you doing to work on it?
That's a good question. I think probably my greatest.
Just want to pause there for a second. That was really good from Ronnie. You see how he gave himself a chance to think. Some people, they hear a question, they jump straight into it. I'll play that one more time. He sort of took a few seconds. He was like, that's a good question. That's just buying himself a bit of time. So it meant he could plan out his answer there in his head, give him a bit of time. Some people just rush straight into it. You don't have to. You can just chill out. Take a couple of seconds, slowly repeat the question. That's a good question. Cool, cool, cool. Give yourself that time. So that was really good from Ronnie there. What's your biggest weakness and what are you doing to work on it?
That's a good question. I think probably my greatest weakness is the inability to sometimes say no to taking on lots of new work. And I think as a result of that, I can tend to overburden myself in lots of different tasks. And if I give you an example, so I think a lot of times when I'm working in group projects, for example, and at the beginning of those projects, in the initial stages when we're trying to delegate different tasks to different people based on their strengths, I think I have a tendency to try and take on too much work in those instances. And while it might seem that that's a good thing, and sometimes it is, but actually I think that overlooks the benefit of trying to work together in a team environment. So in some of those instances where I'm taking on too much work, some of the other team members aren't able to use their talent to the best of their abilities as a result. And so as a team, sometimes we're not able to work to the best of our ability if sometimes I'm taking on too much work, and then as a result, I'm being overburdened with that. And so going forward, I think it's really important to sometimes learn to say no to taking on extra tasks and extra work where actually it might be more beneficial to hand that over to someone else who has more expertise or better strengths in that area. And that's something that I'm trying to work on.
Yep, that was a good answer there. Effectively, with this question, what would you say is your biggest weakness and what are you doing to work on it? You basically want to give a weakness that's not mental. It's not nothing crazy. Like, oh, one of my biggest weaknesses, I'm scared of talking to people, or I can't get work done or something. It wants to be something that's like not too bad. It's like, oh, I say yes to too many things and I don't say no, or I'm a perfectionist, like that sort of stuff. So that was good. He had a good one there, which was says yes to too many things, doesn't sort of say no to responsibilities and that sort of thing. So it was pretty good. The only bonus would be to sort of show that progress you've made. Casey said, yep, I've been working on it. I'm going to be trying to improve that. Maybe give an example of how it's improved. So my example here would be basically I would spend too much time going in too much detail on things. So my example would be when I was doing like geography mock exams, I'd spend too much time on the first questions and I would run out of time for the later ones. This is something that I was working on. I've actually made progress already. So the last geography exam I did, I focused on making sure I got through those questions, didn't do too much detail, and I actually finished the full paper and actually managed to increase my mark by 20% because I'd actually got a chance to do every question. That shows not only that I'm working on it, but I'm giving a specific example of I'm just showing evidence of progress I've made. So potentially if Ronit has already done this and maybe he's done a new project recently where he actually did say no to a few responsibilities, he could add that in there. So this is actually something I've been working on, and in the last project I did a month ago, I made sure to bear this in mind, and I purposely said no and made sure I didn't get overburdened. This allowed me to actually improve my performance in the responsibilities I did have, and it meant we worked better as a team. So if you can just add in how you're already working towards it, that's just even more evidence and even better. But already that was a pretty good answer from Ronit there. Hey guys, so if you found this video useful, then go and click the like button down below. I've got pretty good feedback the last time I did this video, so I thought I'd try another one. If you guys do like this format overall, where I'm doing like mock interviews and I'm analysing the answers and telling you what you should and shouldn't say, if you do like this format, then just let me know. If I'm getting a bunch of likes, then I'll keep doing these videos because I know you guys like them. If you guys aren't getting value from them, then I'll put out different kind of videos. So just go click that like button if you found it useful, and I'll go and make more of them. Okay, nice one. Have a good rate. Hello. And I'm making videos on communication skills and I can't even speak myself. Have a great rest of your day, guys. See you in a bit.